y'all, welcome back. Today, we're checking out Britain in 1993, a difficult year for Diana.
Welcome to the Retro Rollback as we continue
Alright.
our series of Britain in the 1990s. If you
Y'all be sure to go to Retro Rollback and like and subscribe.
love all things yesterday, check out the other videos on the channel and don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it as we delve into the news and events happening in Britain in 1993.
Alright.
January got off to a messy start as oil tanker MV Brea ran aground on the south mainland of Shetland, spilling nearly 85,000 tons of crude oil into the sea. The tanker broke apart during the most intense extratropical cyclone on record for the northern Atlantic Ocean, and causing a large-scale environmental emergency for the area. In 1992, Ford announced that their Sierra model, a staple of British motoring throughout the 1980s, was being replaced. And that new model was finally unveiled on the 8th of January, when we caught our first glimpse of the all-new Ford Mondeo. A range of large family hatchbacks, saloons and estates. And the first ones were to hit car showrooms in March.
Ford Mondeo? Why have I never heard of that? Ford Mondeo. Popular mid-sized family car produced across multiple generations starting in 1993. Was that in America? The Ford Mondeo is not sold new in the USA today. Was it in 1993? Oh, in America, it was the Mercury Mystique. Oh, or the Ford Contour. Okay. So it's just a different name. Interesting. Where's the Shetlands? I feel like I should know that by now, but I don't. Show me on a map. Oh, way out. Oh, right. Way up there. That's how I've heard of it. Yeah. All these oil tankers. I feel like it's been a while since there's been a big oil spill, right? That's good, right?
And the States, and the first ones were to hit car showrooms in March. The turmoil in the royal family from the previous year continued into January, when British newspapers carried reports that the Princess of Wales wanted a divorce from the Prince of Wales, despite their announcement of separation issued the previous month stating there was no plans for a divorce.
So this was the beginning of that. Wow. I think we watched a Retro Rollback video showing the wedding and all that. I don't remember what year that was, but wow, it's interesting to see how quickly things go, you know? In memory, things last so long, but when you look at just the highlights of the timeline, things move pretty quick, don't they?
There was anger in the skies in January as British Airways admitted liability and apologised unreservedly for a dirty tricks campaign against Virgin Atlantic. BA settled out of court, agreeing to pay £500,000 to Virgin owner Richard Branson personally, and £110,000 to Virgin Atlantic in damages.
For what?
Branson shared his personal payout among Virgin staff, calling it the BA Christmas bonus. More
Nice.
significantly, BA also had to pay Virgin's legal costs, which were about £3 million, a huge sum at the time.
What was it about? British Airways versus Virgin Atlantic. Virgin Atlantic and British Airways are the two main lawsuit. Dirty tricks scandal. That's what he said, right? In a series of concerted campaigns by British Airways in the 1990s seeking to undermine their rival Virgin Atlantic, concerned by the prospect of an upcoming challenger, Lord King, chairman of British Airways, told his chief executive, "Do something about Branson." That's general. The ensuing campaign involved BA representatives impersonating Virgin employees and calling up Virgin customers to try to get them to switch their flights to B as well. Wow. As well as hacking computers to gain access to insider information on Virgin's flights. So British Airways employees were calling Virgin Atlantic customers to try to get them to switch their flights, posing as Virgin Atlantic employees. Wow, that is dirty. That is very dirty. Yeah, that should be illegal. Good. I'm not a fan of Richard Branson. He seems like kind of a creep, but in this instance, I'm glad he won.
February saw a horrific story unfold as 2-year-old James Bulger from Merseyside was brutally murdered by 2 primary school children, Robert Thompson and John Venables, making them the youngest convicted murderers in modern British history.
Oh, wow, that's horrible.
On TV, Sky
I'm not even going to look that up. That's horrible.
One aired Diana, Her True Story, a dramatisation of Andrew Morton's biography of Diana, Princess of Wales. The film featured Serena Scott Thomas as the princess. And BBC Two aired Oprah Winfrey's interview with...
Hang on. So, wow, this aired at that time. The stuff was still going on and they already made a movie about
biography of Diana, Princess of Wales. The film featured Serena Scott Thomas as the princess. And BBC Two aired Oprah Winfrey's interview with singer Michael Jackson, one of the most watched TV events ever in America at the time.
Yes.
March 1993.
Yes. I think that was the beginning of Michael Jackson. Well, maybe not. I was going to say the beginning of him seeming a little out there, but that's not truth. But I remember Oprah asking questions and Michael just started like kind of ignoring the questions and like dancing or something, or like maybe I'm thinking of James Brown. It was a weird interview.
TV events ever in America at the time. March 1993 was pretty uneventful, but that was made up for in April. The month started with a new shop arriving on UK shores from the USA. Office superstore chain Staples opened its first store in Britain, in Swansea.
Okay.
Just a matter of weeks after Ford launched the brand new Mondeo, Vauxhall were getting in on the act. They replaced the Nova model, a firm favourite amongst the nation's boy racer community, with the all-new Corsa.
Ooh.
There was history made in April at Aintree Racecourse, for all the wrong reasons, as the 1993 Grand National was called as void for the first time in its history. 30 of the 39 runners began and carried on racing despite there having been a false start. 7 of the field even went on to complete the course, with Isha Ness crossing the finishing post first in what would have been the second fastest time. The Jockey Club decided not to rerun the race, and as a result it's often been called the race that never was. Bookmakers were forced to return an estimated £75 million in bets staked.
Oh, in bet. Okay, yeah. Screw the gamblers, right? That's a mess. Look at that. So there was a false start, and the official said, wait. But some people probably didn't hear it, or they're just like, I'm still going. Wow. That's funny.
One of the only times I've actually got my money back from my Grand National bet. April also saw the launch of the government's often controversial child support agency. The CSA, as it was better known, was set up to implement the calculation of how much child maintenance was due and collection, enforcement and transferal of the payment from the non-resident parents to the person with care.
Oh.
And as the month ended,
Oh. Yeah, I could see why that has a bad reputation. Because, yeah.
Non-resident parents to the person with care. And as the month ended, anyone who was curious as to what Buckingham Palace looked like on the inside had no need to continue wondering. The Queen announced plans to open the palace to tourists for the first time.
Oh, really?
The headlines turned to football.
Can you still go on a tour during the summer from July 9th to September 27th? Oh, I would like to see that. Wow, that was the first time. Surely people saw photos of it before that, right?
On the inside had no need to continue wondering. The Queen announced plans to open the palace to tourists for the first time. The headlines turned to football as May began, and Manchester United became the first champions of the new FA Premier League, after the last remaining title contenders Aston Villa lost 1-0 at home to Oldham Athletic. Yes, Oldham Athletic were in the Premier League in 1993. It was the first time in 26 years that Manchester United had been champions of the top division of English football.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Arsenal became the first team to win the FA Cup and League Cup in the same season, beating Sheffield Wednesday 2-1 in both finals. Steve Morrow scored the winning goal in the League Cup final, but was accidentally dropped by captain Tony Adams during the post-match celebrations, broke his arm and missed the FA Cup triumph.
Yo, that happened just in the World Cup, didn't it? I forgot the player's name, but he jumped over during the celebration of a win. What's up with this? He jumped over a barrier or something and broke his wrist. Yeah. I wonder what's up with him. Jordan Henderson. What's the latest on him? Oh, looks like he's been traded. Liverpool transfer. Jordan Henderson leaves Brentford following a mutual agreement to terminate his contract. Okay, so I guess he's still playing. His career's not over. Good. Glad.
And in Scotland, Rangers completed a domestic treble of the Premier Division title, Scottish Cup and League Cup, in a season that saw them progress to the group stage of the European Cup. June began with a bizarre event playing out on live TV. Countdown host Richard Whiteley, who was also a reporter for Yorkshire TV's calendar programme, was doing a live TV report in Scarborough about coastal erosion, which had forced the closure of the town's Holbeck Hall Hotel.
And it eroded.
And as Richard was reporting, the hotel fell into the sea behind him live on television.
That's awesome.
Talk about being in the right
I want to see that again. That was crazy. That whole tower fell. Let's watch that again. Wow.
Talk about being in the right place at the right time.
Yep.
Then, just a few days later, Britain lost one of its best-loved comedians and entertainers. Les Dawson, the king of the mother-in-law joke, the host of Blankety Blank and many other popular comedy creations, died suddenly from a heart attack during a medical checkup in Greater Manchester at the age of 62. A statue to the great man stands proud today in his hometown of St Anne's near Blackpool.
During a medical checkup, he was the master of the mother-in-law joke, is that right? He was on Joker's Wild. Oh, okay. He had a heart complaint, and it was during treatment that he died. So it wasn't like just a checkup. They don't say exactly what it was, but it could have been like surgery or something like that. My mother-in-law has come round to our house at Christmas 7 years running. This year we're having a change. We're going to let her in. I can always tell when the mother-in-law's coming to stay. The mice throw themselves on the traps. Damn. My mother-in-law fell down a wishing well. I was amazed. I never knew they worked. The mother-in-law came round last week. It was absolutely pouring down, so I opened the door and I saw her there and said, "Mother, don't just stand there in the rain. Go home." I took my mother-in-law to Madame Tussauds' Chamber of Horrors, and one of the attendants said, "Keep her moving, sir. We're stock-taking." The wife's mother said, "When you're dead, I'll dance in your grave." I said, "Good, I'm being buried at sea." Good. Those are funny.
And just a day later, one of the main members of the Carry On film cast, Bernard Bresslaw, died suddenly from a heart attack following a collapse in his dressing room at London's open-air theatre at the age of 59.
Oh, man.
Then, as June came to an end, a high-speed train made the first test journey from France to England via the Channel Tunnel, which opened to the public the following year. Now, as we hit the halfway stage, it's time to...
Wow. I saw a meme recently that said how the tunnel actually looks, and it looks like, a tunnel, the tunnel. And then it said how I thought it looked when I was a kid, and it showed like an aquarium, like it was all glass, and you could see the water. It's kind of funny. Neat.
Now, as we hit the halfway stage, it's time to take a break and see what we could buy for our average weekly wage in 1993 of £266. Let's go shopping. At Sport Division, you could get the latest Nike gear, a baseball cap for $6.99, t-shirt for $9.99, and a new pair of Nike Air trainers for $34.99.
Wow.
Your local Spar shop had some good deals on
Wow. Everything feels like a ripoff these days. I hate this part. I just want to let it play.
drinks and washing powder. Strange combination. 49 pence for a bottle of Coke, 4.99 for 12 cans of lager, and £1.69 for a packet of Persil.
12 pack.
And if you fancy going to a land down under for a Vegemite sandwich, Lund Polly could get you there and back from £564.
Wow.
Back to the news, and the summer of 1993 in the UK was fairly...
Hang on. I said I was going to let it play through, but I just want to see. Yeah. From $720 to $1,400. £619 to £3,000 for business class. That's not that different, right?
But there was good news for fans of Millwall Football Club in August, as they moved into their new home. Labour Party leader John Smith officially opened the New Den Stadium in Bermondsey, which cost £60 million to build, and with a capacity of just over 20,000, was the largest new football stadium to be built in England at the time, since before World War II.
Wow.
A year after the signing of the Maastricht Treaty, and with many unhappy about Britain's ties to the newly formed European Union, a new political party was launched in September, which included a young Nigel Farage. The UK Independence Party, or UKIP as it's better known, supported the breakaway from the European Union, and of course, they eventually succeeded.
Wow. He had been ringing that bell since 1993? Dang. Wow. Man.
Away from the European Union, and of course, they eventually succeeded. And September saw the last Ford Orion roll off the production line. It was one of Ford's most popular models through the 1980s.
The Ford Orion? What? No, the Ford Orion was never sold in the United States. I guess the Ford Escort would be the closest thing that we had to it. Interesting. Very interesting.
It was one of Ford's most popular models through the 1980s. Into October, and for the first time in the UK, you could spend money you didn't have on things you didn't need without leaving your favourite armchair. Yes, it was the launch of the UK's first television shopping channel, QVC.
Oh, we
and many more followed suit, meaning we spent even more money on even more tat we didn't need.
We have QVC as well. Where is QVC from? It seems like an American thing. Pennsylvania. Yeah, okay. Sorry, y'all. They are funny to watch.
Followed suit, meaning we spent even more money on even more tat we didn't need. November, and Princess Diana was back in the headlines again as she sued the Daily Mirror over photographs that were taken over at a gym clad in leotard and cycling shorts.
Good.
They also demanded that all copies and negatives should be handed over to the princess's solicitor. To football once again.
That's not a flattering photo. At least there's no obscure camel toe, right? This doesn't look bad. She looks good.
To football once again, and Graham Taylor resigned as manager of the England football team after 3 years in charge. England failed to qualify for the World Cup in America 1994, despite winning their final qualifying match 7-1 against San Marino. Into December, and following recent events, Princess Diana announced her withdrawal from public life. In a statement, she said the decision was made because overwhelming media interest in her private life had become hard to bear.
There's a paradox in that. I think I remember this interview or seeing photos from it, because this looks like a very familiar image. But to have an announcement in the press saying you're withdrawing from public life seems like an oxymoron, right? Like, just don't announce it, just do it, right? I support Princess Diana. I think she's great. I have nothing to say about her, but I think that an announcement of it probably made it worse, right?
On the 10th of December, the last shift at Wearmouth Colliery in Sunderland ended coal mining in the Durham coalfields after at least 700 years. The colliery was demolished soon afterwards, and the land became the new home of Sunderland Football Club, as the Stadium of Light was built on the site of the former coal mine.
That's good reuse.
And the year ended
700 years, though. Wow. That's a long time.
with devastation in the Dales. Well, on TV at least. The Christmas TV schedules were led by the Emmerdale plane crash storyline, which gave Emmerdale its highest ever viewing figures of 18 million, and was a catalyst to the programme becoming a more cutting-edge primetime soap opera. And the fictional Beckendale air disaster, as it was called, brings the year that was 1993 in Great Britain to a close.
Okay, so that was just a television plane crash, right?
But if you like this video, please do hit the like button and click subscribe for notifications on future videos, and browse the channel for more retro memories. Bye for now.
Y'all be sure to go to Retro Rollaback and like and subscribe. I had a great time in 1993. I don't remember much about it. No, I do remember a lot about it. The 90s, I had a good time in the 90s overall. That was fun for me. I had a good time. Well, yeah, I'd like to thank my patrons. I'd like to thank my Buy Me a Coffee folks. Thank y'all for watching this with me, and I'll see y'all next time.